there by Big Geordie McPhee, who it has to be said has been very, very brave, considering the diagnosis he received earlier this year of his pipework being absolutely infested with the bumworms. Hello folks, I am your afternoon DJ Hamish Halley-Rackett here on Radio Meldrum, but I've got a wee topic to bring up today that I think applies to us all. You'll maybe notice there on the Facebooks, especially if you're a member of the local groups, is the big concern about the fireworks. Yes, it's that time of year again, folks. November time, bonfire time, where fireworks are exploding above your houses. Now, every year we hear the chaos it causes in the Facebook groups, people complaining about the bangs and the crashes and how their pets are terrified, even though this happens every bloody year and we all know about it, and it's quite easy to buy ear protectors or, cams for the cats. Who knows? But anyway, I'd also like to address the fact that some of our listeners out there maybe are a little bit concerned about the PTSD. The PTSD you get from the explosions. Now, we have to bear in mind that some people suffer from a bit of the PTSD. For example, this letter here from one of our very concerned listeners, a Mr. Dougie Faulkner. Now, Dougie is a farmer himself, out by the mains of Glack. And he likes to talk about how it affects him and other sufferers of the PTSD. Now, Dougie goes on to tell us a wee story about how a number of years ago on bonfire night, his good lady wife Ethel, Ken Ethel, she works up in the chipper there, lovely lassie, she'd invited out members of her knitting circle for a couple of sherries whilst discussing new knitting patterns. Now, Dougie, however, knew that this was code for her and the girls tanking as much vodka as they could down their necks whilst watching Sex and the City and talking about willies. So, Dougie, a wise man that he is, instead kept himself busy mucking out the byre while listening to Tack the Floor with the late Robbie Shepherd on the radio. He goes on to say that the soothing tones of Robbie used to help soothe the coos whilst he was busy howking at their teats for the milk. So he assumed that it would also help to stop them booting him in the teeth whilst he swept up all the muck on the floor behind them. Well, whilst working away scrubbing up all that cow muck, he realised himself that he was half a close himself to touching cloth. So, from the knees down, he ran back to the house to use the toilet. However, it turns out that both toilets in the house were occupied by friends of Ethel, both shouting Huey into the porcelain telephone after consuming one too many of the alcoholic taddy waters. Dougie writes that there was nothing for it. He'd have to run out to the stables and evacuate himself out there in one of the stalls. Now, he said that he chose to go out to the stables as it was well out of sight of the house, in case any of Ethel's pals saw him with the +4s round the knees, and as he squatted down and pinched out a loaf. Now, he squeezed into the stall beside Geordie the horse, ripped the breeks down to get about his business. Now, unknown to Dougie though, Ethel and her well-drunken pals had got as far as Season 6, Episode 14 of the Sex and the City, and then decided after seeing Miranda get married that they had to celebrate the occasion. Digging out a massive box of fireworks that Dougie had bought 4 years earlier, they'd all stumbled out to the yard and set the damn thing alight, subsequently lighting up the sky above Mains of Glack with a selection of out-of-date and offensively loud air bombs. It's at this point that poor Dougie thinks his PTSD about fireworks first kicked in, as he tells us in his final words, "Have you ever tried shitting beside a startled horse?" So, with that in mind, listeners, let's play our next track here. It's called Jimmy's Been Messing with the Tractor Belt Again and Lost 4 Fingers by Robin and the Steamboats. Cheerio now, folks. Lovely to have you.
Jimmy has been messing with the tidy belt again and has lost 4 fingers.